Hello, my name is Mark Churchward and I'm a member of the Christian community in Southend. And I'm glad of the opportunity through this means, and thank you so much to the members of the council who have created the opportunity for this kind of sharing of faith communities within Southend with one another and with the wider population of Southend. I'm glad to share briefly one thing that my faith has enabled as we have all travelled through a turbulent year that's had light and shade as part of that journey. As a Christian, one of the things that I'm persuaded about is that the essence of God's nature is unconditional love. And although that conviction doesn't provide for me in my experience a pat answer to many of the hard questions of life, it does leave me with an understanding that I can entrust to God's love things that I cannot comprehend, but I know He does. There's a wisdom that is greater than mine. There is an understanding that is far greater than mine. There is a power that is greater than my own power, that I believe I can entrust everything about my life, the life of my family, the life of my Christian church family, and the life of my community and nation into the hands of the one who has that greater wisdom, love, and understanding, even when there are things that challenge that faith. One of the things that I have found so helpful during this period of COVID has been reading regularly the scriptures of my faith, the Bible, the Christian Bible. And one of the verses within those books of the Bible, written by a man called Paul, who was a church leader in the very earliest times of the beginnings of Christian faith and the Christian community, at one time himself vehemently opposed to the Christian faith, doing everything he could to stamp out what he saw as a sect that was undermining the truth of what he then believed. But as a result of a powerful encounter with the risen Jesus, had his theological world turned upside down and became one of the most significant leaders of the early Christian communities, just a few years after Jesus' death and resurrection. And he wrote many letters to embryonic Christian communities at that time. And in one of them, the first letter he wrote to the Christian community at Corinth, there's a section, a beautiful section, about the nature of God's love, as he had come to understand it in his own experience and through his encounter and his reading about and learning about Jesus. And one of the statements he makes in that passage is very simple, and it says this: love never fails. And in all the ups and downs that COVID has created, in all the ups and downs of involvement that has impacted my personal life, that has impacted my personal family and my church community, the conviction and the experience that God's love never fails has been a source of strength and a source of peace that has enabled me and many others to walk through these turbulent times. We share as Christians part of our scriptures with the Jewish community, and in Psalm 21, which is well known by many people with or without a particular faith conviction, the promise that God as a loving shepherd walks us through the valley of the shadow of death, and he is there walking that valley with us when we walk through it. And that has been part of my experience too. And a promise of Jesus made in another part of the Christian scriptures: I will never fail you, I will never forsake you, I will never abandon you. And in my experience, he is entirely faithful to what he says. And that has been a source of strength to me in these turbulent times.